all, welcome back to my channel. So in today's class we are going to discuss about class. It's been so long since we have discussed about class. Maybe in the first week of this week, in the first video of this week, I have uploaded a video on classes. And meanwhile, since I'm having some requests on Verilog HTLs and also I have uploaded those videos first. So that is why I have delay for these classes. So from here we'll be going to discuss about everything about the OOPS concepts like classes, advantages like inheritance, polymorphism, everything. So if you are new to my channel, consider subscribing my channel and hit on the notification bell also. Also follow me on LinkedIn, Quora and all my social media handles in order to get the updates on my courses. Right? So let's not waste any more time. As in the previous class, like when I have uploaded about the class, we have discussed some concepts in classes, like how are we going to create the instances for the classes and how are we going to create the object for this class. So all these things we have discussed, and also I have told you why is it mandatory to create the new function, why is it mandatory to create the object before using the class. Okay, so if you don't see that video, I'll link that in the description box. You can go there and check it out also, right? So, these all things we have discussed, like how are we going to create instance and object creation and all. And in today's class, like we are going to discuss about something interesting more than the previous class. That is, so if you see here in this particular example, as I have told you, by using the class handles, you can create number of handles for the class. Okay, since class is a user defined data type, so by using the name of the class, we can create many number of handles. For example, if you see here, this is my class transaction, and by using this transaction, I have created two handles. Now what happens? These two handles can hold two different values. Okay, that means if you see here data and id. Okay, so my first handle data and id values are 5 and 1. My second handle data and id values are 10 and 2. So in this way, for different handles you can allocate different like, even though the variable of the properties are same, but they can have different values in different class handles. Okay, in this way, for example, if this is only two handles, so that is why I have just written it as tr1 and tr2. For example, if I want some 10 or 15 handles, so I can't give every name like a tr1 tr2. In this way I can't give name for all the handles because it is such a hassle. So in order to avoid it, what we are doing here is we are taking the help of arrays concept. So if you see here, see the example here, class transaction. Okay, the same example, but instead of creating the handles like tr1 tr2, instead of creating like this, what I am doing, I am taking the help of arrays. So now tr of 5, now if you see here, this is the fixed size of array. Now what happens, 5 handles like tr of 1, tr of 2, tr of 3, tr of 4 and tr of 5. So in this way 5 handles are automatically created. Okay, so instead of naming everything, we can just create it in this way. Okay, and now in order to assign values or anything into it, we can have, as you already know that we have already discussed about the arrays concept in detail for system verilog. If you didn't see that, I have created a separate playlist for arrays. I'll link the particular link of that particular arrays playlist in the description box. You can also check it out there, and you should check it out that first, because if you don't know arrays, you should compulsorily know about arrays in system verilog. Arrays is just a heart of system verilog. If you see here, everything when you want to deal with the bulk of handles or bulk of variables, you will be opting for arrays. So that is why arrays is very important in system verilog. So if you don't know about arrays, first go check those videos and then come to this video. Okay, so this is about, so since we are using arrays, you will be taking the help of for each loop. Okay, for each tr of I. Okay, so tr of I equal to new. Now what is happening here? Here there is one advantage, that instead of creating all these things, you can avoid it by doing it with a single line like tr of 5. And in the same way, instead of creating like tr1 equal to new, tr2 equal to new, so instead of doing it in this way, if you take it in array format, you can just write it as for each tr of I, you are creating a new for every tr of I. Now tr of 5, so it is having 5 handles. So for each 5 handles, as the loop is going on from 0 to 4, so for each thing you will be created a memory location. Got my point? So in this way, you will be creating handles with just a single line. So what happens? Your code is much reduced, and also by taking the help of arrays, it will be much organized compared to the taking it individually. Okay. So now what happens for each tr of I? The object is created, and within the object it is having two properties like data and id. So within the two properties you will be assigning some value. Okay, here also I of data, that means for example tr0 dot data. So within this tr0 of data, I into I equal to nothing but, here since I is 0, so 0 into 0, which is 0, right? So in this way the values will be assigned to this. Right, so this is all. So in this way you will be using for fixed array. The same thing for dynamic array. Here the concept is same for all the arrays, either it is fixed array or dynamic array or associative array, but the only difference is that how we are like notating that particular. See, if this is tr of empty braces, you already know that if you are using empty braces it is dynamic array. And for the same thing, if you are using a like data type, like which property, if you are using some property, then that is the associative array. Okay, you can just pause this video and check this particular two programs, because I have already explained about the arrays, so I don't want to waste time on explaining these two programs. But if you don't understand these two programs, you can comment me in the ping box and then I'll definitely answer you. Or you can join my telegram channel and you can ask me there also, then I will definitely answer your particular doubt on that particular code. Okay, so this is about the dynamic arrays and associative arrays, right? So now let us see another important concept in classes, which is class constructors. Okay, class constructor is nothing but when you want to initialize the value to the variable. Like if you see here, you already know that class consists of properties and methods. Properties are nothing but it consists of certain variables, is it or not? So in order to initialize those variables, like in order to put some value into those variables, you need to write a function. Okay, so either you can do it individually like before, just like you have done it. Okay, you can just initialize it in this way, but there is another important easy way in order to initialize the functions, which is the class constructor. Okay, class constructor is nothing but you will be writing a function new. Okay, here by using this function new, okay, you are initializing the values to this particular thing. If you see the example here, okay, this is the class packet and this is having two properties, sorry, one property which consists of address and data as two variables. Now if you see here, function new bit 31 down to 0. Okay, if you see here the same width, okay, a comma b. Now what happens, whatever that is there in a, that you are assigning it to address. Okay, whatever that is there in b, that is assigning to the data. Now what happens, the values, when you want to assign values to this, for example if you see here, when you're calling this new function, then what happens, it is returning the values like 10 and 20 into this particular variables. That means you are assigning 10 and 20 here. Instead of assigning it individually, you can just write. So in this way, even though you are having various properties within the class also, you can just write a single constructor function and you can assign all the values into that by just calling the new function here. Okay, so this is about constructor function. There is no much about the constructor function, just it is used in order to initialize the values into the class. Okay, that's it. So this is the example of that particular function. So if you see here, this is my class packet which consists of like properties like address, data, right, and string packet type. Okay, Now if you see here, function new. Now within the function new, what I'm doing, I'm assigning all values within this particular function and end function. Okay, so now whenever you want to call, now if you see here, I have written another function like void display, where I am displaying all the values within one function. Okay, and then end function. Now if you see here, I have within the module, I am just calling my packet. Okay, packet pkt. Okay, and now I have created the value, sorry, I have created the object like new. Okay, now what happens when I am calling the packet dot display? Now what is happening, this display is being displayed. So what is the display here? It is having the values like address, data, write, packet type. But have you initialized any values here before calling it? No, but still it will be showing the values. Why? Because you have already created the constructor function where you have already initialized the values to these all variables. Okay, so that is why, since you have already initialized the variables, those will be displayed here after calling this particular pkt.display function. Right? So this is the use of class constructor. Static properties and methods. Static properties and methods are very much important when we are discussing about the classes. So what is the static properties and methods? Basically, static method means static property or static method means when you are defining a keyword static before any method, before any of your property or before any of your method. For example, if you are writing a class, okay, packet, and within this you are using like int a, okay, and like string b, in this way you are using some two data types. Okay, so within this, before this data type, if you are mentioning a static keyword, then it is called a static property. In the same way, when you are writing a function within your class and before the function if you are using the static, then that is called a static method. Okay, got my point? Static properties and static methods. So what is the need of this static properties? Like, why do we use static properties? Okay, let me first give you a small clarification on what is the static properties and what is static methods. Like before diving into the examples of, or before seeing into what examples of the static properties and methods. Okay, for example, the same thing here. Now if you see the same example, now for my packet I'll be creating my the handles. Okay, I have created the handles for my packet pkt1 and pkt2. So this is my class packet. Okay, and for this packet I have created two handles, pkt1, pkt2. Okay, so now this pkt1 has two variables a, b. Okay, this pkt2 also have the same thing like a and b. Now what happens, since I'll be creating the new function, like I'll be creating the object for these two packets, so that is why they will be having their individual memory. Is it or not? Now if you see in the before examples, okay, see in the before examples, like individual memories. For example, this memory is having two values, this memory is having its individual values. Similarly, here A is will be having A can hold individual value like 0 and 1, and this can hold individual values like 2 and 3. Okay, normally this happens in a normal like classes. Now when you are using this, when you are making this particular A as static in nature, now what happens means the memory of A is shared among, even though you're taking some four packets like 3 and 4 also, okay, among these four packets also, the memory location of A is shared among all these four things. That means there will be same memory location for all the A's within the four packets. Got my point? But B will be having its individual memory location. Like that means you can have individual values within within b, but for a you can't have that, because you are sharing the, by using the static property, you are sharing the memory location among all the handles within the packet. Got my point? Yes, I'll be just giving it example for you so that it will be easy for you to understand. But before going that, as I told you here, see, the class can have multiple instances. Each instance of the class has its own copy of variables, like I said. But when you are using the static memory location, then the variable is required to be shared by all instances. That means this particular variable's memory location is shared by all instances. So what if it shares the memory? Now let us see a example for this particular thing. So if you see here, right, class transaction, and within this class transaction I am using two variables like SID, okay, and ID. Now if you see here, this is my transaction. Okay, for this transaction I am taking 5 handles. So if you see here, this is my transaction. I am having 5 variables like tr1, tr2, tr3, tr4, tr5. So 5 handles, right? Now within this 5 handles it will be having memory locations for SID, ID, SID, ID, SID, ID. In the same way for these two also. Okay. Now, if you see here, right, the first thing SID is static in nature. So, since this is static in nature, so the memory location is same for all the handles. Okay. For SID, the memory location is same. But for ID, the memory location will be different. Different means I am just, in order to make you understand the things, I am just showing it in a different way. Okay. So in this way, now what happens? I am writing a function like constructor function. This is the constructor function. Okay, within the constructor function, right, I am incrementing the values of my SID and ID, like SID plus plus, ID plus plus, and end function, end class. Now within this I am taking the transaction array of transactions. So within this, for each tr of I, that means it will be starting from tr of 1. Okay, for each tr of 1, it memory is created. Memory, since tr of 1 memory is created, so SID and ID memories is created. Okay, and then I want to display SID value, ID value. Now see, if you see here, I'm calling the tr of I of SID. Now if you see here, tr of I equal to new, that means I am calling the constructor function here in order to assign the values. Okay, in order to initialize the values. Now what are the values here? SID and ID. Since tri of y is 1, so SID will be 1, ID will be 1. Fine. Okay, now because it is incremented, so SID is 1, ID is 1, and again it is going for each. So the loop will be continuing from 1 to 5 because it is having 5 memory locations, so that is why the loop will be going for 5 times. Now for the second one, now if you see here, since this is sharing the same memory location, so that is why here previously, since the same memory location is here also, so that is why the previous value will be incremented from 1 to 2. But here what happens? Here the ID value is 1, but here there is no other value. Now if you see here, this is different memory location, so its initial value, now all the initial values are made 0 here. Okay, similarly here also first is 0, but the same memory location is created by all SIDs, so it is from 1 to 2, but since it is 0, it will be incremented to 1. Again if you see here, it is 0, so it is 1, it is 0, it is 1, so this is 0, this is 1. But here this is not 0, this is 3. Why? Because 2, same memory location it is shared, so it is 3. Next it is 4, next it is 5. Hope you got my point. So in this way, when you are using the static, so that is why if you see, when you are incrementing SID, since SID is static in nature, its value is incremented from 1 to 5. But here ID is having different memory locations, so that is why it is taken as 1 in all these memory locations. Hope you got idea on what is static and what is not. Okay, so the same thing here also. Now if you see here, let me show you another example. Like here I am taking four variables like address, data, static ctr, and ctr. Now if you see here, static ctr is static in nature and the remaining three are dynamic in nature. Okay, now I am writing the constructor function where I am assigning the values for this particular address and data, like AD, D. Okay, these are the two values I am assigning, and the remaining two things I am just incrementing here, like static CTR plus plus, CTR plus plus, and I am writing the display function. Now, if you see here, I am creating my packet for three handles. Okay, this is my packet 1, packet 2, and packet 3. Okay, so for this p1, p2, p3, I am calling three new functions. Okay, so I am calling the new function. Since I am calling the new function, what is happening? It will be like, if you see here, within the new function I am having two arguments, so within this I am writing two values like DEAD and 12. Okay, so DEAD and 12. In this way the three things are fine, like all the address and data is called for three times. Now, if you see here, when it comes to the incrementing of static CTR plus and CTR plus plus. Now, if you see here, CTR plus plus is not static in nature, so that is why it is having individual memory. Okay, but here when it comes to CTR plus plus, it is shared. Now, what happens? Okay, so since this is having individual memory, the value will be always 1. But if you see here, here 1 and 2, it is shared. That means the value is 2. So in this way, the values will be displayed here. Got my point? So this is the difference between static and non-static. So if you are still confused with static and non-static, you can pick me in the comment box. I'll definitely explain you. But hope it is clear for you. Hope I have shared it in a clear manner for you. Right? So this is about the static properties. And in the next class, we are going to discuss about the static methods and some more topics. That is all for today. If you are liking this particular video, you can give me a like, which is kind of motivation for me. Also, please do consider subscribing my channel. When I'm seeing my analytics, it is showing that many of you are viewing the channel without subscribing it. Please don't do that. Please do subscribe to my channel. It is just a kind of motivation for me to upload more such videos. And also, if you are a VLSI aspirant and if you want to enter into design and verification domain, or if you come under any person, any VLSI aspirants who want to enter into design and verification domain, please share this video to them, and also tell them to subscribe this channel, because I'll be uploading the content on courses related to design and verification domain. Thank you all.